Now, teachers, we're going to go to another major part of the whole, and that would be the Post-Baccalaureate Licensure Program Handbook. As you click on that link and you look at the handbook before you, this handbook is what I would call a great synopsis of everything that we have just talked about. So maybe you're a person who prefers to learn whole to part, so you might want to click on this handbook first and read it again and then go to the parts. Or this is a nice culminating way for you because you prefer to go part to whole. When we're looking at the portfolio handbook, when we're looking, at the Post-Baccalaureate handbook, I'm too excited to get to the portfolio here. When we're looking at the Post-Baccalaureate handbook, this is basically a culmination of everything that we have talked about, but like I said, in a little different format. So if you look at page 1, you're going to see there that we have the license programs that I talked about, and yours is either the K6 or the K6 with endorsement. And then as you move through to the next page, where I want to stop is underneath the application process. Just a reminder about bullet point 3. Don't forget to send 2 letters of recommendation. One of those letters must be from a principal or an instructional supervisor attesting to your satisfactory teaching and classroom management skills in order to complete this program. So please remember to send those 2 letters of recommendation. And then we will send a letter back to you saying that you're ready to go. And then if you look at the last bullet point, please, don't get caught up in the 48 months here. We realize that your combo program is longer than that. This is just a basic goal that we give everybody because remember, there are other people in besides just you as far as this program is concerned. So that is also flexible, not to worry. Then the licensure options are there. Many of the things that we talked about already as far as forms and applications, coursework, the exams. And then also you see a little bit more about the supervisory observation and visit that I talked about. And again, just a reminder of how you're going to send them to my office in either a flash drive or a DVD. A reminder again that the classroom supervisor must be licensed and that the assessment form is completed. And that is the overview of the handbook. Then as we click out of the handbook, we're now going to go to the portfolio guidelines. The portfolio guidelines would be the last item under this tan box of post-bac licensure. The portfolio guidelines. If you click on that, and as you can see, it has the same cover page, so basically, so I tell everybody, make sure you're on the right one. Also, sometimes what I found is that if people forget and they just type in portfolio guidelines into the search box, you sometimes will get the undergraduate guidelines. So make sure, teachers, that you are on this website and you're clicking on this set of guidelines. And I just say that because there's a little bit of difference and I wouldn't want you to read the wrong requirements. So always make sure you check on this first page and that it says Post-Baccalaureate Licensure Program Portfolio Guidelines. Now, I'd like to stop right here and just say this. When we talked about the portfolio not being done until after your professional experience, because some of what you do in your professional experience will be included in the portfolio, along with your coursework and so forth. The idea is this. I do not expect you to remember everything that I say today about the portfolio. Now, does that get you off the hook? No. What I mean is this. It is an automatic that when you are ready to start putting your portfolio together, you email Ken. Ken sets up a teleconference that you and I attend together. And I spend roughly an hour with you. So you'll want to think about that. Blocking out an hour of time where we will go through some of the specifics, because now I know you're ready. Those specifics will be putting the portfolio together, and those specifics will also include the presentation. So as I look at this today with you as an overview, I don't want you to get nervous about, oh, I need to start this already. You need to be much further along in your program for some of you. Some of you, maybe this is only a year away. But remember, an hour with you when you're ready to get it started. Please write that down so that you don't forget. So as you know, that portfolio is a purposeful, systematic collection of work that demonstrates knowledge, skills, and dispositions required of a professional teacher seeking Minnesota licensure. The contents of your portfolio also provide documentation that you have met the standards of effective practice, those 10 standards that have been linked and we've worked on in the seminar. You know how your coursework and experiences have met these standards. And you yourself have reflected upon your teaching experiences. What I like about the portfolio is it's an opportunity for you to, as I say, show what you know. You've done this in your coursework. You've done this in your testing. You've done this in your journal, but now you have an opportunity, because what do we say to our students? I'm going to assess you in a variety of ways. I'm excited. As the creator of this portfolio, you might say, oh, thanks, Dr. Whaley, more work. But why I'm excited about it is it's an opportunity for you to say who you are and humbly share the gifts and talents God has given you and how you have become and enjoyed being the effective teacher that you are, serving Him. As we continue to go through the guidelines, there's specific information about how your portfolio should look. They're called formatting points, as you can see. And then after we get through the formatting points, there's then a section about how to present your portfolio. And when you present that portfolio, if you look at paragraph 3, it says your review will last an hour, 50 minutes of presentation time, and 10 to 15 minutes for a question and answer session. Dr. Klindworth and I are your reviewers. You will either come to campus if you are close enough or are visiting and would like to do that, or we do this via Skype or Google Hangout. So we make this portfolio presentation as comfortable for you as possible in whatever way it works. As Dr. Klindworth and I listen to your presentation, we never want to interrupt. So you will have a full 50 minutes to go through those 20 MOEs, models of evidence. Thanks. And then, after you're done with your presentation, then we will ask you some questions. Now, these questions are not something that you study for. We might ask you to expand something that you said, or ask you another question related. Nothing to worry about. You can use your portfolio at that time. Now, I have some teachers that say to me, oh, I can't talk for 50 minutes. Well, after everyone is done, it's amazing how people will say, wow, that 50 minutes sure went fast. So when I talk to you in that hour discussion, don't worry. Everything will be just fine. So you have the guidelines for the formatting, which are very particular, and you can read through those. Then you have the presenting of your portfolio. Then there are going to be the options. And the options are something that are critically important for us to talk about when it gets that close. You can certainly read through them to see what they're like. Then there are the presentation tips. And that gives you some guidelines there. There are some modes that are going to be required. Then I give you a listing of what are some choices that you have as far as what could be included in your portfolio, and you're going to come up with even more. Then, as we continue on, there are going to be 20 models of evidence for your portfolio. And no model of evidence can be used more than once. So, you notice you're going to have 2 models of evidence for each standard. And like I said, you don't have to memorize the section the teacher understands the central concepts. You'll be able to read that. But you should be able to say, well, standard 1 is subject matter, standard 2 is student learning. And we've discussed this already earlier in this seminar. So when it says choice, it is your choice as to deciding what document you want in there. If the document is larger than something that can be put into a 3-ring binder, then that's fine. You'll just send us to that or bring that along or show us whatever fashion you want to. Perfectly fine. Then when it's not a choice, you'll see as in standard 2 where it says Mo 2A reflection journal. Then as we move through the rest of the standards, you're going to see in standard 4, you're going to write a reflective essay on instructional strategies, and then you're going to use some of that video recording that you did during your professional experience. You're going to do the same thing for standard 5, and then standard 8. So it'll be critically important. I will send you all of your video recording back so that you have all of that. And roughly, you don't have to worry about editing. If you have more than one DVD or flash drive, you can move it along as you talk to us. That's no problem. If you feel as though you would like to edit, that's great. But the point is you will use that video recording kind of as evidence to tell us why you're saying in a general fashion what you believe about instructional strategies, or what do you believe about the learning environment, or what do you believe about assessment. So you can't write those essays until you've finished your professional experience. And like I said, usually that's when people send me the email and say, okay, Dr. Whaley, I'm done with my professional experience. I'd like to talk about the portfolio. And then we discuss the essays and the video recording at that time. Standard 9 and Standard 10. And then as you continue through the guidelines, there is a sample cover page where you write the standard on the top. You type it. And then, of course, you will put both models of evidence and explain it on the cover page, on that one cover page. So it's always like this. Cover page, model of evidence. Cover page, model of evidence. Cover page, model of evidence. And on that cover page, you speak to both of the models of evidence. Now, if that spills over onto the back of another sheet, that's okay. Not a problem. Then this will help you see it too, because there's your table of contents sample. And then you can see how you number the pages with a 1A, 1B, that type of thing. And then there is the rubric so that you know how you're going to be assessed. We don't want any surprises. And I do want to say that with all the hard work that everybody puts into this, everyone does very well. And I know you will too. And that ends the guidelines. To finish up, just maybe one more question you might have, and then you're of course going to think more that when we talk together, you'll share those. But one more would be this. The same thing with the portfolio. When you're ready to give that presentation, Dr. Clinworth and I will work it into our schedule however we can. It can be during the regular school year. It can be in the summer. Whatever works for you. So we're very flexible in making sure that that portfolio can happen as soon as you would like it to. As we click out of the portfolio guidelines and you look to the left of your screen, you're going to notice then that we have accomplished everything under the post-bac licensure tan box. Now, you might go, whew, we're done. Guess what? We're not. What I want to do then is to go above that tan box. And we have 2 other parts that I want us to look at. The 2 parts I want us to look at are MDE licensing and license renewal. You do not have to concern yourself with the background check application. You do not have to concern yourself with the Licensure Advisory Council. The MTLE testing site is just again there if you want to click on that in that form. So let's look at the last two pieces for this part of the seminar. MDE licensing. You have already been taken to this site in various ways through the seminar. I just want to make you aware of that when you are ready to apply for your license, it is an online registering system. So if you look, it says online licensing system. Log into the system to apply for a new license, which would be you. Now, you also have to create an account. Teachers, here's what I want to tell you. Ken and I can't go any further with you on this because you have to create your account. So when it gets to this point and you're asking me now, so, well, when is this point? That would be when you have all those four pieces done. What are they? Here we go. Coursework, professional experience, portfolio, testing. When you have all of those pieces completed, then you can apply for your license. And you will do this from your home computer. So the system will tell you anything and everything that you need to do. But the bottom line is this. When you are done, you will have printed two documents. And one is called the cover page, and the other is called the verification form. If you do not live in Minnesota, or even if you do, on the document where it says click for a Minnesota fingerprint card, you can check that because you have to fill out a Minnesota fingerprint card. It'll be a white card with blue writing on it. So MDE will send that to you. If you click your documents and you're all done and you realize, oh, I forgot to click on the fingerprint card, you can just call MDE. The number, as you can see, is right there on the screen, and they will send you that fingerprint card. Because then when it comes time, you have to get that all ready, and then you have to send it to us, to the licensure office at MLC. And then it gets prepared by Ken and me, and then we send it up to the state, because there is a part that we need to fill in. And you'll see that it says completed by the institution, not a part that you fill in. So let's go back. You create your account. You apply. You pay the fee. Then you print those two documents. You get your fingerprint card done, and you send that information to us. And then you're called what's in process once we send it up to the state. And it usually takes, depending upon the time of the year, 4 to 6 weeks. And then you get your official license in the mail. Then after that, if you look on the site here, you'll see that it says Teacher License Lookup. You can click on that at any time, and you will see that how things are moving along for your license. And you'll have what's called a process number. You don't have to memorize your process number, but write it down somewhere. You also should make sure that you write down, we have so many of these, I know, but your password and what did you do to log into MDE, because Ken and I don't know that. We won't be able to. So that you can constantly go in, and you have to be able to do that. And then, of course, what type of license would you apply for? And as I referred to before, you will hopefully be applying for this first-time full professional license. If the limited is still around and you didn't pass one of your tests or a couple of your tests, you could certainly apply for this one, but we're hoping up here. So we really have to see where's your status when you've completed your plan, where are you at, and then we'll go from there and help you with that. So this is then the licensing on the MDE website, and at any time when you're ready to do this, Ken is only a phone call away. And I ask you to make sure to call him, because he, of course, has certain documentation and other numbers that he needs that I don't have, that he can help you with getting right in there and doing what we need to do and helping you if there's any kind of a problem. But otherwise, it should be very successful. Then we'll click out of there, and now we will go to the last tab, and that's license renewal. Under license renewal, this would be once, let's say for example, your license is given to you in, usually it's June 30th, so June 30th will be the date on the bottom of the license. Let's say it's June 30th, 2016. Then you have 5 years in order to renew your license. During those 5 years, there are quite a few things that you can be doing. You don't have to wait until the end. And what I want to stress with you is this. You might say, wow, I'm this far in my master's program, and now you're telling me this, and now you're telling me this. I know there's a lot to this seminar, but just remember that we're here for you. I know renewal is a long time away because you first want to get your license, but we need to go through all of these pieces. And the key is this. This website is always going to be here. And all of these pieces are going to be here, and Ken is updating them as needed. So what I find is usually people forget, and so they'll write me an email and say, Dr. Whaley, how do I renew my license? Or they'll write to Ken. And I usually just say, oh, go on our website. And oh, that's right, I forgot. So instructions, clock hour approval form, as you're looking at the left-hand side now, clock hour rules, frequently asked questions, and the reflective statement. All of the pieces that you need in order to be successful are right here. But before we go to those pieces, I want you to just look at what you see right here on your screen. Please complete and submit the clock hour approval form along with your clock hour verification, a certificate, a grade card, a letter, a transcript. And you're going to send that to the Continuing Education Committee. So again, from June 30th to 2016 to June 30th, 2021, if I've done my math correctly, during that time, as you gain clock hours, 125 of them, it's very easy that you keep submitting. And you submit to the Continuing Education Committee, and you notice the address is right there. Above that is Mary Northenskold's name. She has been a tremendous lady. She is taking care of our D/MLC grads all over the country. So you might be in a location where some of your teachers might say, well, I go to the Continuing Ed Committee in Illinois. If you wish to go there and have them take care of your Minnesota, but I can tell you right now, they may not be real thrilled about it, but maybe somebody has a better connection. They really want to take care of the Illinois people. So I've been so pleased that New Ulm Public has been willing to do this for us without any cost. So Mary is currently taking care of all of our graduates. I don't know if she will still be here. She has talked about retirement. But the name may change here, and I hope it doesn't. She's been awesome. But you will always send things into the Continuing Education Committee at the address that you see here. So what does that mean? So once you have your license, then in the paper in hand, and you see the date, and you start renewing. Okay, the key is you have a Continuing Education Committee, and you have to have that committee because they're the ones who approve what you've done so that you can get that renewal in 5 years. So if we go under now the tan box under license renewal, you will see instructions. Now what Ken has done here is he gives you all of the steps. I am not going to read through those for you today because this would be a little bit too early. I'd like you to read through them so that you just kind of have a guide to see what happens. And as you read through this, you're going to see that sometimes where Ken has, he talks about the tests, he talks about whether you took human relations. Don't worry about the human relations. For those of you obviously in the combo, that's all wrapped up. We're good to go. But there's some mandatory renewal requirements. So you must complete 125 hours of professional development. And then the areas in which you must complete, as you can see right here, are positive behavioral intervention strategies. Basically, that is the fancy title for anything and everything that you might take concerning classroom management, classroom discipline. Let me go through all these and then I'll talk a little bit more. Second one, accommodation, modification, and adaptation of curriculum, materials, and instruction. Major word here, curriculum. Anything that you take in any subject area, or just in the general term of curriculum, can be applied here. Third one, key warning signs for early onset mental illness in children and adolescents. Key warning signs. We offer a course on that. Maybe some of you might take that through Dr. Clinworth. He even will do it via Skype if needed. The other thing I like to say here with this one is, or any of them, check with your local public school district. They might be offering courses like this also that you can check in and do something there. You can do our continuing ed. All a variety of things, and I'll get to what that variety will be in just a little bit to meet these. And then there's also reading preparation. So this is curriculum in any way. This is reading especially. And then there's something that's called the technology piece and the reflective piece, but let's just wait for just a minute there. And I just want to share with you this. As you read through these 5 pieces, I want you to understand that the state does not say you must have 2 hours in this and 5 hours in this and 4 hours in that. First of all, you have to get a total of 125 clock hours. You can pick and choose. Sometimes you're going to go to something where it will cross over. Let's say that you went to a reading workshop that was held in your state. You could then count that for reading preparation, and maybe then you studied some special resources. You could also count that with adaptation for curriculum. So sometimes you'll be checking more than one thing. And when I say checking more than one thing, I'll show you that approval form in just a minute. So we've got, let's review again. First one, easy, management and discipline. I'll just use the easy terms, management discipline. Second one, curriculum. Third, mental illness, which encompasses so many different things about disorders, disabilities, so forth. Reading preparation. Then technology has been added. Let's say you're going to go to a smartboard course. Wonderful. Anything with technology. And then finally, there's what's called a reflective statement. And it's the applicant must include a reflective statement of professional accomplishment and the applicant's own assessment of professional growth. So just like we talk about with our students, it isn't just grades, it's growth, the same thing here. So you're writing a reflective statement, and notice it doesn't say a length. What it's doing is kind of like, in a way, you think about the goals that you had for your professional experience. So they give you some guidelines, a written statement prepared by the teacher that demonstrates reflection on his or her professional accomplishment and includes a self-assessment of his or her growth. So you might want to talk about, what do you see yourself doing in the future? I want to take more courses on da-da-da-da. I just finished my master's program, which allows me to, there's just so many things that can be said here. And you write that reflective statement one time. You don't write that once every 5 years. You write that reflective statement once and turn that in for that 5-year renewal. So I call the reflective statement a little bit different here. It's a little different animal, if you will, as to what's required. So if we go from technology on up, those are the 5 categories that you would get the 125 clock hours in. Now let's click back out. Let's go and jump down to the clock hour rules. Now, this could look like a lot of reading, which it is, but what it does is, if you go to subpart 3, you will see all of the different categories that will count for clock hour experience. But I first want to highlight this. Clock hours must be earned in 2 or more of the categories. So you can't get 125 clock hours in just one. Because, like I said before, you maybe could go to one workshop and it could cover 3 of those 5 areas. Or you could go to a workshop and it would cover all 5. Well, you have to have 2 or more experiences. So you could use your coursework, any workshops or conferences you go to, any staff development. If you have an in-service meeting, your principal writes up a paragraph and says, so-and-so attended this week-long in-service where we developed a new reading curriculum. That counts. Then supervision, all different kinds of things, any kind of travel. And then if you go down to subpart 4, in A, 24 clock hours for each semester credit earned. So let's say, remember now, you can't start the renewal until after you get your license. So let's go back to that June 30th, 2016 date. Let's say you take a workshop, a 1-credit course, let's say, from MLC that next summer. That's already 24 clock hours out of the 125. So as I talk to teachers who have their license currently, they say, it really isn't hard to get those 125 hours in 5 years. So as you read through those subparts, then you will see exactly what counts, and some different questions that you might have are answered here and answered well. And oftentimes I'll get that question, well, what counts, Dr. Whaley? So again, just a reminder that when you're looking over here on the website, clock hour rules tell you what all counts. Now let's go to the clock hour approval form. This is a form that Ken has created that Mary Northenskold is very happy about, or whoever might be Mary's replacement. So just like in the portfolio that we just discussed, where you have cover page and then your model of evidence, when you're submitting things to Mary or to whoever it might be for license renewal, you must submit this approval form. And then I always say a copy of whatever it is that you attended. So let's say you went to the Wisconsin Teachers Conference and they're not going to bring it to you. You have to go to the table and say, do you have a CEU form, a clock hour form for me that I can take? Well, when you get that clock hour form, make a copy of it. Just in case something happens in transit or whatever, you still have the original. So you would take the approval form and you would take that copy and you could already send that off to Mary, because then she records it and you can actually go onto the system on MDE and you can actually look at how you are doing. It'll show you, yes, she gave you 5 hours in the mental illness section and she gave you 10 hours in the curriculum section. So you can be mapping how you're doing as you work toward achieving those 125. So that's all done online now. So she submits it online, you go into MDE and you can check that out. But this clock hour approval form, teachers, must accompany what you want credit for. And you need to fill everything in. And remember now, you can check more than one box if it applies to what you are doing. Then you must describe the experience. And Mary always says, she's not asking you to write a book, but please give her enough, especially if this might be covering more than one area, that she has enough there to help her make her decision on that. Tells you where to mail it to, and then Mary will update you on how things are. So again, clock hour approval form must go with whatever it is that you're showing what you attended. And just a reminder again, sometimes you're going to have to go to get what you need. In other words, go to the principal to type up the paragraph. Go to the conference to get the certificate. You don't want to be, losing clock hours because you forgot to get something like that. So it'll be just a good reminder for you. And then there's a little bit more about the reflective statement, if you would need to look at that, which we've also talked about. And then finally, there are some frequently asked questions that we've tried to answer. It never answers everything, but we try. So I would like you to read through this. Some of this won't apply to you right now because we've tried to meet the needs of everybody who's trying to do licensure. But it is good for you to look through. I'd appreciate it if you did. As we click out then, I'm going back to the main site again of Post-Baccalaureate Licensure, and I'd like you to look then at the left-hand side and to see how much ground that we have covered in this particular part of our seminar. If there is any kind of a question, I look forward to you asking me that when we get together with our group discussion toward the end of this seminar. I thank you for your kind listening, your kind observing, and now it's off to you to go and study, look through things, get your questions ready. But again, please don't be overwhelmed because we will take this step by step. Thank you so very much. And it's been a joy working with you this way. And I look forward to the end of the seminar when we can discuss all of this information together.